Why only 2 a.m.? I mean, we CISOs work virtually 24/7. And I think all my CISO fraternity friends will agree to this. So, as I said sometime back, at one point of time, we were just worried about our digital presence. But now, your digital presence is not just yours, but your partner's presence as well.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the GB show. You must have heard me saying this before that IT is no more a support function but it's a business enabler. When it's a business enabler, it requires lot of things, lot of decision to be taken up fast. And with that, business has started taking up some decisions. They have started getting up the ideas and they want to execution of the same, not in months but in the days. So for that, we are building up so many applications. We are onboarding many vendors. Every organization is going to the cloud. IT and OT are the new things. Load many SaaS applications. So things are changing and it's going fast at the speed of with the speed of light. And what is happening in there? And the threat exposure is increasing because criminals are watching for IT related issues. They are seeing that all the business decision core functions are now dependent on IT, and they are looking into the threats which IT is getting into there. So threat exposure is increasing, and what is a big nightmare for all the cybersecurity professionals is the visibility. They don't know where the data is. They don't know how many applications the business is using and where all assets I have. So today I want to specifically touch on this particular topic where we will be talking on how to have the best visibility for your organization, what all challenges a CISO is facing, and what are the best practices we can have or look into this particular direction. So to talk on this with me, I have today Ranjan Revandkar. He is CISO PI Industry Limited. Let's deep dive into the conversation. Hi Ranjan, welcome to the GB show.
Hi, Gaurav. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I think this is my first instance, and it's absolutely honor to be here with you. I mean, we had a lot of conversations in the back, but this kind of conversation on a broadcast, it gives me immense pleasure. And one small disclaimer: all my views presented will be my personal views. My corporate views may differ.
Okay, perfect. Today I don't want you to act as a corporate guy. We want to learn a lot of things from you. We want to get so many things out of you. And today I am promising my audience that they will learn a lot and they will have a lot of insights from you. I promise that, right? So taking it further, the very first thing, Ranjan, I will like to ask you as you are in the role of a CISO of a organization which is both into IT, OT, cloud everywhere, right? And you have a lot of threat exposure as well as the environment which you need to look into quite big, right? So today in 2025, if I ask you, what make you awake at 2 a.m. in the night? So
Why only 2 a.m.? I mean, we CISOs work virtually 24/7. And I think all my CISO fraternity friends will agree to this. So, Gaurav, I'll just take back a few years when we started our careers. Possibly, the firewalls, antivirus, and then we started into IDS and all those things. In fact, those were the time when these antivirus vendors used to sell antivirus with 7,000 signatures. That used to be comprehensive coverage of viruses. And then those I love you and those viruses have emerged. Nowadays, when we are sitting here, every second there are more than 10 new malwares or new threats that are coming up. Nowadays, with ChatGPT and other AI platforms, even a layman can write its own malware. Okay, so if you look at over this period of time, the business has evolved. Business has evolved in terms of digitization. Lot of places where you see even in banking, branchless banking and all those concepts have come up. So I've dwelled into multiple segments. I've been into BFSI, I've been into manufacturing, pharma, NBFCs. So I've seen all those aspects very closely, the role of regulator, the role of IT or information security, and especially the transition from typical IT support team to business enabler. Yeah. That is a transition that we have seen in last 2 decades. So specifically when we look at visibility means what? Visibility is not only about your assets. A lot of people talk about visibility of your assets. First thing is you should have visibility of your business, how your business processes are functioning. Then what are those applications which are supporting those business functions and how they are linked with each other. That technology dependency analysis is very important aspect. I've seen one example. I will just tell you. Suppose in the manufacturing, if I take, I know how my warehouse and all functioning, but suppose the final threat is that QR scan. Yeah. Okay. And if I don't look at that system, I don't know that there is a dependency. However good my other processes are, but that shipment will not happen. So business will get impacted. So having that end-to-end visibility, and then coming back how those RTOs, RPOs, what are the critical things is very important. Second thing is obviously the visibility of assets, especially when you are growing. Earlier we used to be worried about our own assets. How many desktop, laptops we have, how many, then we used to compare with Active Directory, antiviruses and all. Nowadays, as you rightly pointed out, business wants to go live quickly. It's not months, but days. Yeah. And in these things, we take support from a lot of partners who have those ready solutions, and that we call it as a SaaS kind of platforms. So your data is not just with you, but data is getting processed with those vendors as well. So it is very important for you to have your governance models. Though you are pushing the responsibility, but you still own the accountability of your data. So I think a couple of years back we heard about one of the telcos incident, and then we got to know that it's not the telco got breached, but one retail shop was the one where those SIM cards and all got leaked out, SIM card data and all. So irrespective of what comes out, it is you at a risk. So having that visibility, having those controls is very important. Then I would also say that when you look at those assets, it is important that you should have visibility of your manpower and their qualifications in terms of the location-based IT guys may not have the same visibility of you. Okay, the OT environment, the kind of processes they follow, that visibility is also very important, because that is where we say that though we protect a lot of things, but then that one open window is good enough for a hacker to get into. And especially when you are growing globally, it's very important that you have visibility across the globe. There are a lot of different compliances that comes into picture, and looking at those compliances, you have to still look at your security.
Okay, I think a very long answer to the short one. So I know I don't. I will like to correct myself. It's not 2 a.m. It's the whole night, which will make you awake after this. But two important aspect which I have got from your answer. One is the most worrying part is the resiliency you are talking about, and the second is the visibility. And in visibility, I got that you are talking about data. Specifically in cloud and on-prem, which is required your own asset and the manpower, skills and the applications which you are talking about, that because you need to map to the crown jewels which are there, right? Having those visibility. So maybe I will like to break down in all of these aspects, and we like to understand what are the major challenges in each category, right? So let's pick up maybe the SaaS one first, because you mentioned that your data, many SaaS applications are getting used. So why is this happening, and where you see there is a control gap, and the reason of SaaS applications getting used, data we are not aware, what is causing this problem, and how we can actually safeguard this?
I don't say it's a problem. Okay, so as I said sometime back, at one point of time we were just worried about our digital presence, but now your digital presence is not just yours but your partner's presence as well. Okay, so as of now, if you look at the way the business functions, the time to market is a key, and business obviously wants things to be done very at a faster rate. And one of the best ways to leverage on the skills or leverage on the products that somebody else has designed, who has a core competency into it. Okay, I may not be that good in master data management. I can leverage on somebody's capability. I may not be doing the GST submissions. I can leverage on somebody else's capability. But while business is looking into it, it is important from a security point of view to look at their controls. Because everybody at the point of go live, somebody was saying, till the time things are good, security is everybody's responsibility. But when something goes wrong, it's CISO's responsibility. So obviously CISO has to look into the aspects of data security, very important, the kind of, where the data lies. So from both perspective, one is obviously this is data security, one is from the compliance point of view, what data, where it is going, how those systems are getting integrated. Are those aligned with your RT or RPO? How much time you need that business process to start, and how much time are they taking? So all those aspects become very critical. In fact, I will tell you, this is just the beginning, I would say. With AI coming in so prominently, possibly down the line, I say that 25-30% of the business will not come to IT. They will start consuming some AI platforms. And as a security guy, though IT may not have the visibility, but you need to have that visibility. Otherwise, protection will become a challenge.
Exactly, and how we can safeguard this? So, do you think in future, like business will have more power? They should be educated more to the cyber security, or CISO or the security guys need to have more control. So, how you think the things will move or shape in?
So I think it is very important that security is closely aligned with business. Because obviously, because the business is taking those initiatives and the kind of exposure they are having, your role becomes so prominent, and it's critical. Once the business understand, I've seen examples where business has said no to the partners because they said that my security team is not comfortable with your controls, I cannot proceed. And then I've seen examples also where the partners have come down, made us understand what improvements they need, and they have incorporated those things in their products. That kind of experiences also I have. So at nutshell, it is very important that you should have a uniform framework, and that framework about the data integration points, how those encryption, access control, all those we call it as the IT general controls. Okay, the data security controls, the compliance requirements. You should have that kind of holistic framework, and before that, business should able to articulate to business why it is a risk. Because a lot of time I tell my business, if you don't agree that there is a risk, we won't look at the solution. So it is very important in the first place is to agree on the risk. Once you agree, solutions follows.
Okay, fair enough. And because even I see the Gartner has termed something called as cyber judgment, where it says, security CISO will make a control and then business will get aware. And as you rightly mentioned, with the era of AI, business is taking those AI applications, they are signing up with different vendors, POCs, and sometimes it may not be possible to have a full-fledged visibility. But if we have something like cyber judgment and business is automatically aware that, okay, these are my bare minimum controls I need to look into, I think that will solve the problem.
In fact, sometimes you have to talk to business and see what compensating control you can do. Because, so for example, business may say that no, I will not process, I will only process non-confidential data. Then your risk appetite changes. Sometimes business may say that no, this particular partner will only be participating in this specific process. He will not do end-to-end. And even, as I said, I've seen examples where business said no to the partner, saying that no, your security standards are not matching with my my framework or my security team, so we cannot proceed with you. But that kind of confidence building is very necessary with the business.
But if I look into the threat vector, the threat exposure side, with this business taking their own decision, with the AI tools coming in, more and more cloud and SaaS platform using, what kind of threats you are seeing which are actually increasing because of all this?
See, okay. One of the threat I will say, because the most prominent threat when you are trying multiple things nowadays, people do try with they do POCs with different partners and all, and the one thing that gets neglected is you work with someone. However, post your work is done, that digital presence is still there, and any digital presence which is not monitored or governed at a regular frequency becomes a risk. We have seen it in last you take example of last what more than 15 years since when we started looking into these targeted attacks. Those were the weak links. So somebody, even the example of Target or other examples at that point of time were also hacker always exploited the weak link. So you have to make sure that your controls are not as strong as your corporate team or your EDR XDRs of the world, but as weak as those weak points.
Okay, fair enough. So, taking my discussion from the data point of view, the another thing you specifically mentioned from the visibility point, the having a the manpower, having a different set of skills which require for IT and OT environment, right? So, how you will differentiate between these two? Because right now when we were talking about data, cloud, AI, apps, SaaS, so it's more from IT side, and when it comes to OT, what is the visibility challenges comes over there, and the what threat get exposed?
Okay, so from a OT point of view, the one thing is those instruments or PLCs, SCADAs of the world, they have a lifetime of around 15 to 20 years. So even if I force them to go for a latest OS, it's not going to sustain for 15, 20 years. Possibly, and OS has a lifetime of 6 to 8 years. That's it. But it is important how you put that strategy in safeguarding those assets. Those are vulnerable, but still how you protect it. So that's where sometimes I give that analogy of Shivaji Maharaj, the way he shielded his forts. Okay, if you look at his forts, the entrance itself demonstrates that it's not lavish and big, but it's a small, possibly a much smaller gate than your and my society gates. Okay, so that the attacker cannot come in, or he will always have, the reachability is also difficult. One of his fort in Citrurga is surrounded by water. How will some enemy come to that through that water? So secondly, it will always be tilted towards right. So the person coming from outside doesn't get advantage of using right hand, which 90% of the people are, but the person inside has that advantage. And even I'll not dwell much into, but even if the attacker gets into, he knows how to escape, and those escape routes are only known to were known to Shivaji and other people. So over the period of time, I would say the weapons have changed, but strategies remains the same. Even in those days of Ramayana, Mahabharata, they used to call it Chakravyuh. I think we CISOs has to look at that Chakravyuh, how we build those Chakravyuh defense in depth, so that in terms of technology, I will say it's a very unfair game, because normally the way our life cycle goes is we identify a new technology, we identify that yes, this technology is required, then we do POVs, we go for budget, then we find the implementation partner, gets implemented. So obviously a few months goes into this, but hackers doesn't have to follow these cycles. Plus they also share their threat intels. So only technology can safeguard you? Not possible. But then how you can safeguard irrespective of those technological changes, irrespective of those advancements, is knowing your environment well. And that's where, coming back to the OT topic, those systems, a lot of time it happens that, I've seen the days where, these OT vendors were not even comfortable with antivirus. and batch processing is very important. Okay, if the batch fails, then the liability will come to you. So it is. So we have to again engage with those partners. We have to involve them. We have to sometimes have to reach to the OEM level. I remember in one of my tenure, we called people from Germany, and then we solved those kind of issues. So minimum basic hygienes has to be there. You have to isolate that environment on need basis, obviously. So, for example, a firewall may not just firewall may not help, but then because you want to work in IT/OT convergence, you may use something called diode, which sends the one-way traffic. So, though the other side of it is compromised, it cannot send the traffic back. So, but then at the same time, the access control, the kind of practices being followed at the plant levels are very important, and that is where you need to empower your plant peoples. Those are your hands and feet. So once you empower them and have a continuous governance, continuous involvement with them, then I think you come to I would say not exactly what in IT, but a reasonable security model. You have to cut down the exposures with need to know basis. That's the key.
Amazing. Okay, I think great. So that gives a quite a good perspective about OT. But as we say, OT, cloud, SaaS, business getting so many applications. So all this in together, and when we are going through the cybersecurity teams, what do you think as a common challenge and the mistakes people make, and which bring all this security down? And also, if you can share some use cases from your experience as well.
Sure, I think that's a good question. So, one of the biggest mistake that people do, what I've seen, or I would not say mistake as such, because that is how it has been evolved. Okay, with different segments, different regulators playing those roles, or there are certain segments which doesn't have a regulatory requirement. So people learn from the mistakes only. People learn from their experiences only. So I will not use the term mistakes, but very importantly, is I will give one example. In one of the organization when I joined, the CXOs told me, Ranjan, why don't you prepare your 3-year strategy? I said, why don't you tell me first of all how your business is functioning? It's a new environment for me. No, you can talk about, you will do ISO, you will do, your next gen antivirus. That time it was not EDR, but next gen antivirus and, anti-APT and all those things. I said, all said and done, all right. I will do that. I'm not saying no. But importantly, what should I protect? Where are your crown jewels? I don't want to protect your shoe rack, but the jewelry inside. So unless you tell me that this is my shoe rack, this is my jewelry, these are my confidential files, that way I will have that adaptable security. I don't want to spend, unnecessarily. Obviously, in security, you first get the visibility and then you know what is important for you and you start protecting it. It has to be, context-based security. Security can't be, everywhere you put the same controls. You can't afford to do that. You don't have unlimited budgets with you. Plus, even if you manage to do so, how will you control that? With limited time, limited resources. I think very important aspect is having the right kind of segmentation. Okay, a lot of people. I'll just give you one example. In one of the organization, when I talked to IT team and I said, he said that they said it's a 3-tier architecture. I said fantastic, good, but it took me some time to understand that the 3-tier were production, quality, and dev. Whereas for me, it is web app DB.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, coming back to this segmentation is very important. In some of the people I spoke with, even with people having ransomware attacks and all, they segregated their plants and production segments. But then within production, how you are segregated, how you build those resiliency in your network, because resiliency has to start from design. Okay. Similarly, when I talked about the SaaS-based applications, nowadays we earlier we used to have shadow IT as a challenge, but nowadays it's shadow SaaS is a challenge.
Shadow SaaS.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a new word for me. What does it sound for you?
So shadow SaaS is like sometimes it may happen that business has already engaged with some vendor. You are not even aware.
Okay.
You have to do your digital landscape. You have to understand the threat landscape from your assets. So somewhere something is running on name of you might not be aware. Okay, and then as I said, building those confidence with the business so that shadow SaaS doesn't become your future risk. It can be your past risk or a present risk. So one of the very important aspect here comes is about training your people, having those capabilities built in. Are those, say for example, very very simple thing. If your application is not doing X forwarding, that is a very basic simple thing. How will you know the source IP from where the attack is coming? Your source IP will be shown as the possibly your load balancer IP. How will you investigate? A lot of those SOC players I see is they talk about integrations, use cases, and all. But are we doing assessment of our own environment in terms of whether those logs are getting generated in the first place? If my logs are not getting generated, I'm having a false sense of security. So these things, these are practical examples which I learned over a period of time. And again, I not say those are the mistakes.
Yeah, got it.
But obviously, everybody learn with the time. Possibly, 10 years down the line with Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they will possibly think that ये बुड्ढे लोग outdated है.
No, they have already started looking that way as well. So right, but as you said, so these are not mistakes, but someone actually did those mistakes. Then people learn, and that is our idea is because you are talking.
So basically, आज तक हुआ नहीं. That is that's what something gives them confidence.
Yeah.
कल हो सकता है भाई.
Bilkul. That's how the cybersecurity is all about, and the issues are all about. So you don't know when you are going to get hacked, right? So that is the thing. So thing is, specifically for Gen Zs, maybe the idea is that they are getting these learnings from you or the new youth or the upcoming CISOs who are coming in, and they should not make these mistakes. So let's not call these mistakes, but the learnings, right? We call it what learnings you had. So that will be the right way of taking it. But from your learnings, which I was talking about, like how necessary or that word which it's a necessity for an organization to have a plan B where they will talk about like in case of failure. You were talking about ransomware, or you were talking about if the data is getting loose, or some sort of misconfiguration and investigation need to be done. So resiliency becomes an important aspect. What would be your idea about a organization level resiliency and how that can be achieved?
So I would say that resiliency will have 3 steps. Okay, one is it should start with the business. Then it will flow to IT and then cybersecurity. There have been days where we used to have cyber crisis management plans, but that time possibly the industry was have not possibly seen or was thought about integrating those cyber crisis management plan with operational resiliency. But nowadays, if I look at a lot of people are, building the organization-wide resiliency, and obviously when you look at resiliency, there are obviously the natural threats, your vital records, cyber attacks, your third-party failure. We all saw incidentally, we saw that Black Friday incident. I again don't want to quote name of the OEM, but then a lot of people started talking about resiliency during that time. I was part of multiple CISO groups. So a lot of people started saying that, how we can have, or a better change management process so that those changes can be tested first. But possibly somewhere like, you're using this kind of solutions, then possibly your systems are already in their hand. So they can deploy. I don't want to quote again a name, but I've seen a OEM which bring in all your mailboxes in a collaborative way. So you can add your personal mailbox to your official mailbox, and then you just drag drop your mails. So these kind of configurations or misconfigurations. So for somebody it's a usability, but for somebody it's a risk. So we always say that talk about, for somebody we thought about those are a terrorist, but for somebody they are hero. So basically, all these things matters a lot when you're talking about resiliency. So as I said, those are the 4-5 steps which are important, and building those cyber crisis management plan along with your IT incident management plan. It has to go hand in hand. Your definition of crisis has to be the same organization wide. People should know their roles and responsibilities, and the roles and responsibilities will be known better when you practice it. Otherwise, in terms of crisis, people becomes a headless chickens, and then they start taking some calls. So recently, I always talk about one concept of the golden hour. That first 1 hour of any incident is very important. What calls you take at that point of time becomes very crucial. That decides whether you are at the winning side or losing side. For example, are you ready to the extent where you are, I personally don't encourage, but then if your data is lost, it's with hackers, are you able to negotiate with them? That can be an important strategy depending on the organization to organization. I personally don't encourage it, but then you have to think about that kind of possibility as well.
Exactly.
Because nowadays, I'll tell you very interestingly, pre-COVID, we knew which hacking group can target what sector. Who will target BFSI, who will target farmers and all. In fact, during COVID, there were some of the hacking groups who said that who take an oath saying that we will not target hospitals. Very positive move from them. But nowadays, post-COVID, there are so many job switches in the hacking community also, that somebody who is doing a recon can be different. Somebody who is entering and doing a privilege escalation, lateral movement can be different. The ransomware guy can be third guy, and the guy who is asking for a ransom can be a fourth guy. So you may not even know who targeted you. So we are
hacking is also a big service business now.
Yeah, it's a big service business. In fact, couple of years back, there were cases where the hackers targeted disgruntled employees, and it's very simple. Just go to LinkedIn and find who is open to work, and try on them. They can be your disgruntled employee, or they're looking out for some XYZ reasons. The possibility is more.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the Naukri Monster or those kind of sites indeed will actually give you more insights who to target, right? Yeah, that's a service, you just open an account and see who's looking
nowadays
for
you
a
don't need
change.
Naukri Monster. I don't know how many people,
LinkedIn or
security
something
guys are, uploading their portfolio or profile on Naukri Monster, but LinkedIn is become very easy. LinkedIn has become, nowadays with the kind of post I see, it looks like a new Facebook.
Yeah, I'm still old school. So yeah, that's I think a great perspective you have added, and I must say having the right kind of resiliency at the organization level requires a big time visibility of
Yes.
your own assets, your own
It's a
infrastructure,
journey.
and also the new threats, right? So having a right visibility will help you to build the full-fledged organization resiliency. That is what the idea which I have got from you. So I think it was great insight, and how you have connected the dot gives a good value to us. But from your 20 years of experience, and if someone who's watching me right now, and let's say he has joined a new organization and want to set something, maybe it's a startup or a legacy organization. If I want to put you a framework for me that if you want to have the right kind of visibility, and you want to understand if there are any control gaps, how should I start, and what will be step-by-step approach for my audience directly? My audience is all yours.
Thanks. So there are multiple frameworks that are available. The NIST and all, the ISO of the world. There are multiple frameworks. The important aspect here is how you adapt to the frameworks. Because one framework may not holistically meet your business challenges. I cannot say that, if I put NIST, the entire point-wise approach may not be, for a startup, it may be different risk. For something very legacy, it can be different things. But the very important aspect is when you look at those mapping with the framework about with your controls. Okay, and that's what I always like to do is have those controls and see how those controls are performing. But those controls has to be linked with the risk of the organization. Okay, you can't have all those controls in different set of businesses. For example, somewhere you need immediate go live. Okay, then what are those four things that you will fix immediately? Somebody will say that yes, I want to develop a product or I want to have some molecule. Then the security has to be different. It has to be always a contextual security, which I will recommend for people. And very importantly, when you build those controls or those mappings, then have a roadmap. Security can't be done in a day or months.
What should we prioritize in a roadmap? So what you let's say if there are 5, 10 or 100 things which are there, how you will like to prioritize that? This is my top 10 I should do this year. These are my next year and third year.
Okay. So always do mapping of risk against each of those controls. What if I don't fix will be the highest risk for me? Target it first.
Okay.
If, for example, your network is flat, you feel that that's my biggest risk, target it first. You feel that you are not done a red teaming or you don't have visibility of your threat landscape, do that first. For some businesses, like startups, the availability can be very important. So he will say that, what about my BCPDR? Okay, obviously he will consume a lot of SaaS kind of services. So he has to check with what kind of DR plan is there. Where all the data is there. Will he land into some compliance risk? If he is landing in compliance risk, which is 4% of his revenue, then definitely he may not take that kind of calls. So it's the implementation of framework is always has to be business context driven. And then you derive, these are my 3 months plan, 6 months, 1 year, 3 year. But then I would say once you are somewhere in those aspects, that journey, please relook, because we are planning from A to B, thinking that the threat landscape is B, but this is moving. So it's important that after, say, possibly every year, you go back and see where I am and what is my the next goal. The goalposts always change in cybersecurity.
Awesome. I think great insights, and then overall, I really love, and the word which I have got, I really love that shadow SaaS. That's something amazing, and I think because with the new organizations or the startups, when I say they are cloud-born organizations, so shadow SaaS is going to be a big challenge,
Yes.
and I got that new terminology amazingly. Thank you, and it's really great having you as part of the
Thank
show.
you for having
And
me here.
I have last segment where I will just have some
Oh.
goodie box for you, and
Ah,
this is here.
that's amazing.
Thank you for
Stop.
joining in.
Thank you
And
so much,
Amazing. Yep.
It was
and
an honor for me to come here and share my thoughts.
Sure, and I loved each of them. Okay.
I'm glad.
So yeah, everyone, thank you for being here. I'll see you next week with the new episode and the new learning. Till then, take care, be safe.
Thank you.